Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Jill arrives to the Kane train after Audra makes a heartfelt request to Nate. Audra talks endlessly to Sally about launching a new business at Society. Sally says she might find another backer, but she still relies on Abbott Communications. The redhead needs more time, but Audra wants a name. Sally makes a suggestion that Billy might be angry with her for her actions. Since Audra doesn't want to be controlled by another man, she believes that this is more trouble than it is worth. It's not a male, according to Sally. At that moment, Amy and Nate show up. Hi, Audra. Audra swallows. Audra. They discuss Damien's passing and Amy's successful cancer treatments while being cordial. Amy acknowledges that she is disappointed that Audra is no longer around. After introducing Amy to Sally, Nate and Sally leave. Audra requests that Sally refrain from saying, "I told you so." Nate tells Amy at their table that he truly meant it when he stated he was done with Audra. Joining them, Lily gripes about Audra remaining in the city. Audra praises Sally for being a good friend and trying to warn her, then rolls her eyes at another person who despises her entering the room. She believes she can no longer flee from what she done after becoming distraught over missing Amy and Nate. It was selfish, foolish, and incorrect. Nate was taken for granted by her. Audra glances at her ex, Sally, in pain. Audra can still work things out with Nate, according to Sally. Audra constantly criticizes herself while pouting that he is too good for her. Sally encourages her friend to attempt to put things right. Lily tells Nate and Amy at the other table that her twins are still upset with Kane. She finds nothing admirable about her ex's actions. Amy believes Lily and the children should move on. Nevertheless, she would want nothing more than to meet Kane's gaze and express her thoughts about him directly. Amy. Has Billy changed his mind? Billy wants to talk as he arrives at the Kane train. His mother had called him. Jill wants to get together with the three of them. Billy wonders if this is Kane's strategy. Ashby maintains that he has no idea what Jill wants when they argue. Billy threatens to tell his mother that Kane intends to wipe out the entire Genoa city population. Kane jokes that if Jill is angry with his scheme, he will survive. He won't be discouraged. Billy is unable to identify him. He alternates between regret and brutality. Kane advises him to concentrate on Sally and Abbott Communications. Billy inquires as to whether Kane will carry out his scheme and snitch Jill. Ashby, predictably, declines to respond. Kane tells Billy that he doesn't know enough to stop him, yet he's still acting rudely. Billy suggests that he might just be trying to keep everyone guessing. Ashby finds it funny that Billy believes Kane is in over his head. Billy contradicts his own counsel by advising him to concentrate on his children. He will permanently lose them if he carries out his plan. Kane is annoyed by this and inquires as to if he is attempting to save him. Billy, who is changed, claims that Sally taught him what is important. Kane. Is Nate going to talk to Audra? Back at Society, Sally exhorts Audra to have the courage to apologize to Nate and tell him that she took him for granted. She could even succeed in getting what she wants. Lily is still complaining about her kids calling her and crying over Kane becoming a mysterious billionaire across the room. As the conversation shifts to Audra, Lily begs Nate to pardon her. Nate acknowledges that persuading him would require a lot of work. At that moment, Audra walks up to invite him to talk. Lily tells Nate not to listen to his ex, but Nate refuses. But Amy encourages him to do what his heart wants. He is persuaded to follow Audra out the door by that alone. Lily gives Sally a shady expression when she smiles. Lily is informed by Amy that Audra has had a difficult life and a traumatic upbringing. She is not adept at showing vulnerability and gets in her own way. It pains her to watch them in such agony, but she must take responsibility for what she did to Nate. Audra took Nate for granted, Lily harps. She doesn't feel sorry for her. Lily tells Sally to quit pushing Audra to break Nate's heart again as she walks past. Sally apologizes if it offended her. She was relieved that Audra admitted her error. Amy interrupts to point out that mistakes are a part of life and don't always define a person. With Audra, Lily believes it does. Sally Lily. Audra sobs at the overlook, saying that Nate has always supported her and that she has returned the favor by shattering his heart. Nate, I am so very sorry. She is aware that what she did was improper. She failed to consider his feelings. Audra misses their relationship and him. Despite her tendency to push people away, she has never felt more alone since their breakup. Without you, there's a hole in my heart. She questions whether forgiveness is possible. Audra Nate. He's furious that Billy is attempting to serve as his therapist now that he's back on the Kane train. Naturally, Billy persists, griping that he needs to get off the train and mend his relationships. Rich coming from him, he yells, "Get your act together." Kane makes the decision to compromise. "I'll work something out with you." If Billy will try again with his mother, Kane will attempt again with his children. "Did she put you up to this?" snarks Billy. "What do you stand to gain?" Kane claims that she is like a mother to him and that she was killed when Billy removed her from his life. At that moment, Jill shows up and says, "Billy, you hurt me more than you will ever know." The buzz around society that evening was palpable, even if no one would outright admit it. The simmering tension between Audra, Nate, Sally, Lily, Billy, and Kane hung in the air like a storm cloud waiting for the thunder to crack, and when Jill's arrival was whispered in passing, it sent shockwaves through the core of everyone who thought they had a handle on the mess they'd created. Audra, for her part, had been holding court at Sally's side with a nervous kind of desperation, her voice running on and on about this dream business venture she had mapped out in her head, spinning it like the last rope she could cling to after tumbling from Nate's life. Sally, torn between admiration for Audra's ambition and exhaustion from the ceaseless pitch, tried to temper the younger woman's fire with a dose of reality, reminding her that even the most creative idea needs backing and patience, that rushing into another power play would only open old wounds. "I might find another investor," Sally mused carefully, the edge of a sigh in her voice, "but Abbott Communications is still my foundation, and you know how Billy feels about timing. He'll explode if I make the wrong move now." Audra, with her eyes flashing, sat back and snapped that she would not, under any circumstance, let another man dictate her trajectory. Sally's lips twitched into the smallest of smirks as she leaned in and whispered, "It's not a man I'm thinking of." The cryptic note hung in the air only a beat before Nate and Amy stepped into view, their presence instantly changing the oxygen in the room. "Hi, Audra," Nate said evenly, his calmness cutting through her bravado like a knife through silk. Audra's throat tightened, a swallow betraying the crack in her composure as Amy smiled politely, her warmth tempered by the weight of the past. Conversation moved to Damien's death, Amy's victorious battle with cancer, and all the little courtesies people force when deeper resentments are bubbling beneath. Audra listened, heart-aching at Amy's confession of disappointment that she was no longer around, a pang of regret colliding with the strange relief that Amy, at least, still had kindness to give. Sally, ever the diplomat, introduced Amy with grace, but the sting of old rivalries lingered as Nate and Sally drifted off, leaving Audra to mutter to herself, "Don't say it, I know, you told me so." She sat alone for a moment, staring into her glass, before she realized Sally hadn't abandoned her at all. Instead, the redhead returned with the kind of encouragement only a true frenemy could deliver, urging her to find the courage to face Nate, to admit she had been wrong, selfish, and blind. But across the room, Nate was confiding to Amy that his decision to cut ties with Audra hadn't been impulsive, it was final. Amy nodded, Lily sliding in to join them with her own tirade about Kane, her children, and the unforgivable choices of her ex-husband. Lily's bitterness bled into every word as she admitted her twins were still crushed by Kane's absence and betrayal. Amy, trying to play the peacemaker, urged Lily to stop letting Kane dictate her happiness, to move forward instead of dwelling. But Amy's own slip, her almost wistful desire to confront Kane face to face, betrayed that she, too, was shackled to unresolved rage. Lily rolled her eyes but softened for a moment, before recoiling again when she caught Audra casting longing glances toward Nate. Meanwhile, in a darker corner of town, Billy made his way toward the proverbial cane train, his stride heavy with suspicion. His mother had called, Jill always had a way of yanking him back into battles he thought he'd escaped, and he could feel in his bones that this wasn't going to be a casual reunion. Kane, of course, was already bristling with his usual bravado, the shadows of schemes clinging to him like smoke as he needled Billy with jabs about paranoia and control. Billy accused Kane of masterminding some plot to manipulate Jill, to use her influence as cover for whatever harebrained plan he was hatching now. Kane deflected with that smirk that always seemed to dare others to underestimate him. If Jill hates my scheme, he shrugged, I'll survive. Nothing discourages me, Billy boy. But Billy pressed harder, alternating between anger and pity, desperate to find the truth beneath Kane's shifting exterior. You're going to lose everything that matters, Billy hissed. Your kids, your dignity. You're barreling toward a cliff. Kane's eyes flickered with annoyance, but Billy's words pricked him more than he wanted to admit. Was Billy actually trying to save him? Billy, of all people? Kane barked out a laugh, calling it hypocrisy, but Billy surprised him with a confession. Sally had taught him what mattered, that even someone as broken as he had been could change. For a rare moment, Kane didn't have a comeback. Back at society, Audra finally broke down, whispering to Sally that Nate was too good for her, that she had destroyed everything, and there was no way to fix it. But Sally, her own voice soft with strange compassion, insisted that it wasn't too late, that apologies, real ones, had power. Tell him you took him for granted. Tell him you were wrong. Fight for him. At that very moment, fate twisted the scene as Nate, still half listening to Lily's ceaseless complaints, felt the pull of unfinished business. Lily was vehement, don't you dare listen to her again. Don't let her back in. But Amy, calm and wise, touched his arm and said, do what your heart wants. And just like that, Nate rose when Audra approached, her eyes wet with determination, and followed her out into the night, ignoring Lily's furious glare and Sally's small, satisfied smile. Amy tried to remind Lily that people are more than their mistakes, that Audra's tragic past had shaped her walls, but Lily wasn't buying it. To her, Audra's pattern of destruction was proof enough. Still, Amy's words lingered, quietly undercutting Lily's certainty. On the overlook, Audra's facade shattered completely. She sobbed, pouring out every ounce of regret she had buried. Nate, you were always there for me, and I broke your heart. I was selfish, I didn't think about you, about us. I've never felt so empty, so alone. Without you, there's a hole in my heart. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know, I am sorry. Her voice broke, her vulnerability raw and unpolished. Nate stood, torn between fury and compassion, his silence louder than any words. And as that raw scene unfolded, back on the Kane train, Billy was still fighting Kane's demons, trying to pry open a crack in his stubborn armor. Kane sneered that Billy couldn't possibly understand. But Billy countered that Jill's absence had cut him deeply, that Sally had shown him redemption was possible, and that maybe Kane didn't need to be the villain in his own story. Kane, unnerved by the shift, finally muttered that maybe, just maybe, he could try. If Billy tried again with Jill, he'd try again with his kids. Billy's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Did she put you up to this? What are you really after? Kane swore it wasn't about gain, that Jill had always been a mother figure to him, someone he lost when Billy cast her aside. And right on cue, as though destiny itself had been waiting for that precise beat, Jill swept into the room, her voice cutting through the tension like a whip. Billy, she said, her eyes blazing with hurt that masked an ocean of love, you hurt me more than you will ever know. The shock in both men's faces was unmistakable, Billy caught between guilt and defensiveness, Kane caught between vindication and dread. Jill had arrived, and with her came the reckoning no one could escape. The silence after Jill's declaration was heavy, suffocating, the kind of pause where everyone holds their breath because they know the next word could ignite an inferno. Billy's lips parted as though to argue, to plead, to insist that she misunderstood his motives, but his mother's eyes, sharp and glistening with disappointment, froze him in place, while Kane, caught somewhere between relief that Jill had walked in on the exact words he wanted her to hear and terror that her wrath might still. Scorch him, shifted awkwardly, his bravado waning. Jill stepped closer, her heels clicking against the floor like a gavel-pounding judgment, her voice steadier now, each syllable carved with a mother's blend of grief and steel. Do you even realize, Billy, what you've done to this family, to me? Every time I believed you were on the right path, every time I put my faith in you, you twisted it, lashed out, and left me with nothing but regret. Billy's chest rose and fell sharply, his hand running through his hair as if searching for the words that would undo years of chaos, but none came, and Kane, always eager to turn tension into advantage, interjected with false humility, Jill, I've made mistakes too, I won't deny it, but at least I've never stopped seeing you as family, as someone worth fighting for, his tone dripping with just enough contrition to sting Billy. Jill's head snapped toward Kane, eyes narrowing, not fooled for a moment, though a part of her softened at his acknowledgement of her role in his life. She had, after all, practically raised him in some ways, guided him, forgiven him, even when his schemes nearly broke the family in two. Billy bristled at Kane's attempt to rewrite history, his voice finally finding traction. Don't you dare stand there and act like you're the loyal son. You betrayed her, betrayed us all, more times than I can count, and you're still plotting even now, aren't you? Kane's laugh was low, bitter, a sound meant to both taunt and deflect. You think you know me so well, Billy, but maybe you're just projecting your own failures. The venom between the men was palpable, but Jill held up her hand, silencing them, her eyes flashing with the authority of a matriarch who had ruled empires and families alike. Enough. I didn't come here to referee your endless war. I came because I cannot sit back and watch the two of you tear each other apart while dragging my legacy, my family, into the mud. Kane, Billy, both of you are on a collision course, and I'm not going to let you destroy yourselves without looking me in the eye first. Across town, under the dim light of the overlook, Audra's sobs echoed like fragile confessions carried by the wind. Nate's face was etched in conflict, jaw clenched, eyes betraying the storm raging inside him. He had heard apologies before, empty words from people who wanted something, but Audra's voice trembled with a truth he couldn't ignore, her vulnerability raw and unfamiliar. I don't want your pity, she whispered, wiping at her tears. I just need you to know I see it now. How I used you, how I took your love and made it all about me, about my ambition. I was selfish, and it cost me the only man who ever believed in me. Nate turned away, his hands gripping the railing, the city lights below blurring in his vision. His anger wanted to scream, to remind her of every sleepless night she'd caused, every time she dismissed his feelings, but his heart, damaged though it was, ached at the sight of her unraveling. You think words fix this? He said finally, his voice sharp, yet laced with pain. Do you know how many times I stood by you, defended you, only for you to treat me like I was expendable? You can't just cry and expect me to forget. Audra stepped closer, hesitant but determined. I don't expect you to forget, Nate. I want a chance to do better. With you, or even without you, I need to be different. And yes, maybe I'll fail again, maybe I'll always be this mess, but I can't, her voice cracked, I can't stand knowing I lost you because I was too proud to say I was wrong. The air was electric between them, charged with the possibility of redemption and the weight of unforgiveness, and in that fragile space, Nate's silence became an answer in itself. He hadn't walked away, not yet. Back on the Kane train, Billy's defenses cracked under Jill's words. His bravado gave way to the wounded boy inside, the son who had spent a lifetime trying, and failing, to prove himself. Mom, I didn't mean to hurt you, he muttered, his voice low, almost breaking. I was angry, lost, I thought pushing you away would protect me from the disappointment of losing you again. Jill's eyes softened, her heart warring with her pride. She had heard apologies before, empty and cyclical, but the rawness in his tone tugged at the part of her that would always be his mother. Kane, not to be outdone, leaned forward, his own voice layered with practiced sincerity. Jill, whatever mistakes I've made, know this, I would never turn my back on you the way Billy has. You've always been my anchor. Billy snapped, his anger flaring again. Don't you dare use her to prop yourself up, Kane. You've manipulated her enough. The tension between the men sparked like live wires, but Jill slammed her hand on the table, her voice a thunderclap. Both of you need to stop using me as your battleground. This isn't about who loves me more, it's about whether either of you are capable of loving yourselves enough to stop destroying everything around you." The words silenced them both, even Kane, whose smirk faltered under her piercing gaze. For a moment, Jill's vulnerability shone through, the matriarch revealing the cracks in her armor. "Do you have any idea how exhausting it is to keep forgiving the two of you, only to watch you repeat the same mistakes? I'm tired, boys. Tired of watching my sons, because that's what you both are to me, burn bridges and blame each other instead of taking responsibility."